coming up on 4.5 months. Now I guess I ought to go through things in detail. That's my cat scratching. Physically, let's see. Overall, so far, everything extreme happened pretty quickly. I lost about 10 pounds within the first month or two, presumably all of muscle mass, because I gained 10 pounds when I went on testosterone for the first time. And that was within the first month, I think. After about, I'd say maybe 3 months, my cup size had increased, but then I don't think it's changed much since then. I went from a 30B to a 30D based on some measurements. I'd never actually taken my bust size before until this for science, so that's what that is now. The shape will change too as I guess tissue regrows. I'm also only in my early 20s, so I think I read somewhere that you're more likely to get that tissue back if you're younger. Let's see, I also never, again, like, I was a 30B to start with, so I didn't really expect anything. I've never bound, I don't even wear bras or anything like that still. But let's see, since I've been on birth control after the first couple periods just to make sure that everything was like not dead, I've been fine there. I was very, very anemic in the beginning, especially in that first month or 2 months. Like, I used to pass out all the time as a kid, and that was happening again, things like that. Just, take a multivitamin, and that's been, ever since I started taking a multivitamin, I've been totally fine. Just make sure you keep your blood sugar up and things like that, if that's been an issue for you historically. So essentially expect things, depending on how long you've been on tea or how young you are, probably to revert back to what you remember the last time you weren't on tea. Yeah, essentially I reverted back to, maybe even a bit before, because I was having the most problems with my anemia and things when I was like 13 or 14, and I didn't start tea until I was 17. But once I was off tea, everything really went back to that sort of super unhealthy state, just for a bit, I think, as things were readjusting. If you have problems with acne, those might actually get a little bit better. I use like a prescription cream and stuff anyway, so my skin is pretty manageable. Let's see. I haven't noticed any difference in hair growth really. If anything, it might be a tiny bit slower, but again, I'm doing electrolysis on my face, and haven't really messed with anything else and haven't noticed a change at all. But it's only been 4.5 months, and I think a hair follicle's life cycle is 6 months. So probably expect that within the first year, but not too much sooner. Other than that, emotionally, I'm a bit of a strange case for this specifically, if only because I cried all the time in high school, but was never a very emotive kid. And then once I started tea, I really couldn't cry at anything, and that hasn't gone back, even though there's plenty to cry about, given my school, there's certain details of my school program and personal life. Let's see. So yeah, I've heard that going back on estrogen or going off of tea makes you more emotional, but I haven't really noticed a difference in that. Again, I'm not a very emotional person to begin with, so I'm sure that varies by person too, of course. Let's see. I think that would be all the physical changes so far. My body fat is all about the same. I took all my measurements before going off of testosterone and then took them at the 4-month mark. And the only thing that changed was my bust size, not the underbust, not my hips or anything else. I did lose a little bit of mass in my shoulders again, which I think was the muscle that I lost at the very beginning. But other than that, like, my hips either didn't change when I started tea and have always been pretty narrow, or have not changed since I went off of tea. There's the cat. I've definitely been less worried as time goes on. Again, like there are people who will get on your case no matter what you're doing with your life. Especially if you're born female, that's just sort of what people do to you. But the good thing, if you're trying to do this stealthily, he's chewing on the wires. Oh, stop that. The good thing is that he really likes these. Come here. Come here. Get out of there. The good thing is that once people have decided on your gender, it's very difficult to make them change that. So for example, when I transitioned in my senior year of high school, I didn't really tell anyone. I just sort of legally changed my name and went on testosterone, but didn't announce anything, and people called me she until I left. I don't think they ever would have changed, even though my voice significantly deepened, and I always had my hair short and presented masculine in high school. And so I imagine the same thing will happen this time, and it is what's happened. I've been, off testosterone all summer, and then went back to my program for school, and nobody noticed a thing. The only people who know are the 2 or 3 people that I specifically told. The funny thing was I told them because we were going to the beach, because I love to swim but haven't done it since I was on testosterone because I'm so afraid of people. And so I told them, like, hey, just so you know, I'm female, so I'm gonna be, like, don't be weirded out or anything. And one of them didn't even realize, even though I'm at the beach with her, titties out, everything, in a bathing suit. So that's how much you can get away with. And so since then, I've really been doing pretty much whatever I want, and nobody has noticed a thing. This video, I'm afraid, is going to be a little bit long. It's already getting there. Yeah, I'm not... It's not that I don't feel things, but I have a very hard time expressing them. Like, my face just doesn't have a very wide range of things it can do. Again, like, I can't cry. I haven't cried in years. I can do the breathing thing that happens, but I don't make tears, unless there's something in my eye. So that's been frustrating, really, because I'd like to have a nice meltdown here and there like anyone would, but I really can't. And I guess over the last couple months, what's really been coming to a head is realizing how much of my life, and probably a lot of people have been the same way, that I've spent trying to stay one step ahead of everyone else to keep them... Hold on a minute. To try to keep them, I don't know, peaceful or happy or something, so they don't get mad at me and hurt me. He's just making all sorts of problems over there. He's had breakfast, so I don't know what the issue is, besides everything all the time. But anyway, so much of the way that I interacted with the world as a girl growing up, you never really unlearn. And so even when I was trying to live as a man, I could never really integrate all the way like a lot of my other trans friends seem to be able to. Like, I never liked talking to boys when I was a kid. I still don't have any male friends because I just don't get along with them. I don't know why, it just so happens that all of the men I meet consistently have been, like, disappointing people. So I've always been friends with women and only ever been in relationships with women and things like that. But it's been so awkward trying to reintegrate, if only because I feel like I've spent too much time I was never able to side with men, but transitioning sort of took me away from women. And so now, like, I think I've talked about this before, but it's so, I feel wrong or dirty trying to integrate back in with them, as if like it's predatory now, or I'm tricking them or something. Even when people now will call me she without question because of how I've started to look, but I still get so afraid, as if they're going to like find me out or catch something, when like you could take a DNA test and it wouldn't tell you anything to the contrary at this point. Which is also always how I felt about people referring to me with male pronouns, is, oh, like, well, now I've got to be extra careful in case they find me out. I'm not even sure what I'm hiding anymore. Yeah, that's just something to unlearn. This really is getting too long, I'm so sorry. I haven't had the courage to go through with any of the legal things either. In my state, I read that you're able to change the gender marker on your driver's license just by asking them nicely. As far as a name change, though, I'm too ashamed to tell my parents that I want to change it again. And I mean, I do want them to know or approve of it, I guess. I don't know, they weren't very happy at all, like I said in some video probably when I transitioned for the first time, and I don't think they'd care that I'm going back. Like, I think if anything they'd be happy because they didn't want a son and were, you know, throwing such a fit. But I still, like, I'm so embarrassed to tell them what I've picked, and the same thing with my friends. I don't want to tell them, like, you know, it's admitting that I've made a terrible mistake. But I've got to do it at some point, and I do want to have it all done before I move again. It's difficult to admit when you do something wrong, especially when it was, I don't know, I think there was so little available when I was needing to escape from the trauma that female childhood put me in, that transition seemed like the only way out. And it's been so surprising to find that so many of my female friends had the same idea. They just never went through with it, either because they couldn't or because they realized earlier than I did that it wouldn't change anything or fix anything. But me, I'm very, I get a plan in my head and I just want to go through with it, you know, whatever it takes. And that was the only solution I could see. So I'm at a bit of a loss seeing that it's not the only solution and I can move forward with whatever I have. And it's scary to not really know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know, I'm pretty content with, like, I don't really care what I end up looking like or sounding like or anything like that. I think I'll be fine with it no matter what. Just because I have to be, like, there really isn't an option there. And I mean, there's stuff you can do, like, I never would have thought there was anything I could change about myself until, ironically enough, I went off of tea and was like, oh, I can actually get my beard removed. I never liked that, so I should do that. Or, you know, I had my hair long for a bit, living as male, and then, you know, cut it again to be safer because people were reading me as female. But I can have long hair if I want, and I can, you know, dress how I want, and my hobbies are totally fine. But, like, I don't have to learn how to do contouring, and I don't have to paint my nails, or, you know, all these things that maybe you might feel pressure to do to blend back in. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's just me. I doubt that, though. I'm not sure where I was going with that. I don't script these, and I don't know how to edit videos, which is why they get so horrendously long and wandering. Hopefully you won't mind if it's only once a month, though. That's right, that's why I'm doing this in the middle of the month, is so I can get back to doing them at the beginning of the month, because I got so behind for August. But someone did say they wanted me to keep doing these, a couple of people, which I do really appreciate. I'm glad it's helping. I hope I can continue to help. If there's anything in particular you want to hear about, or things you'd like me to research for you, I'd be happy to do it. It's another way to procrastinate on my program studies, so, you know, there's that. Yeah, sorry if that's a little disappointing for an ending, but there's just so much to dig through. Do it if you can, you know, try to move forward with it, try to dig into it. I know it's frustrating and it's slow, and after, you know, I'm just ready to leave where I live right now and start over somewhere new, where I don't have to continue to hide so much. Like, I'm not a good liar, and so when people, you know, my classmates or whatever, will say or imply things that I should know about male life or male childhood, and I just have to sort of sit there because I don't know and I can't make anything up. And again, like, realizing I love women again, but not being able to get close to them because I'm so ashamed of myself and how I sound, and I don't want to seem, you know, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but at the same time I'm uncomfortable, so it's a little, you know, it's complicated. It always is. But I think really the fix to all this, if you are trying to come back to yourself too, is just give it time. Eventually your body will put itself back in its native equilibrium. Chances are, if you're, I don't know, I guess it depends on genes and how strong your T doses were and things, how easy it is for you to blend back in, so to speak. But I hope you will continue to do what makes you happy and comfortable, and to pursue what you like instead of trying to blend in one way or another. It really has made me so much happier to do whatever I want and pay no attention to my gender, because it really is. It's never been important to me. I know it was for a lot of people, especially younger folks transitioning, really needed the whole gender thing, but I never really got into it. I just wanted to be, you know, left alone to walk around at night. Which now I have to accept might not happen anymore. But again, there are things to do. You know, I'm pretty weak physically, but I can work on that. And I can just accept that society is how it is, and if bad things happen, then they'll happen, and I'll deal with them when they get here. But planning for imaginary catastrophes is what got me into this mess in the first place, so I should really work on that. 20 minutes is way too long, so I guess I'll end it here and talk to you next month. Okay, see you later. Good luck with everything.